I traveled through the 7 levels of the candy cane forest, past the sea of swirly, twirly gumdrops. Then I walked through the Lincoln.
There once were these 3 brave young sprite men. They were a bunch of turkeys, if you ask me. They wandered into our village with the greatest stories. Here they are. It's gonna be great. Like and subscribe.
Welcome back to the Drunk Turkey Show. I'm Daniel. This is probably like the most malnourished werewolf I've ever seen. Who's ever seen Joe Biden at midnight? And Blue, you still got that rash or what?
Sam's gonna buy the large tower, bro. Like $15. If it's 3 people, you know, kind of town.
No sausage here. It's Hyman.
It was that age where, like, you have responsibilities, but not as much, and you can have a lot of fun too. So then again, she also looks like that girl from that movie Chapin. I'll get a volunteer another time. Those anal glands can wait.
Well, clearly they're not waiting tonight. Hyman's not here, but myself and Big Blue are. How you doing, Blue? How you doing, my man? You're off tonight?
Yeah, I'm off tonight, yes, sir. I'm as helping Santa, guys. He's got to get the reindeer's anal glands ready for Christmas.
Just Rudolph. You ever? I'll be drinking, yo. That was me popping the top to a Coors Golden Banquet beer. For those that don't know, it's a stubby. Have you ever had a stubby, Blue?
Yeah, those are some of my favorite, man. Those banquet beers. No, the banquet beers. Yeah, I like the taste of them. They're good. It's not as bad, watered down as a regular Coors.
You're right. You know, I wasn't expecting, so much fullness, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Because I've had a Coors Light before. I've had the Silver Bullets.
Yeah.
And, I've recently changed from what I normally drink. Don't ask me why. And now I'm trying other things out. And the Coors, at first, I was kind of like, I don't know about this. But, it's kind of growing on me, man. It's growing on me. I like it.
Yeah, and Mexico, they sell little ones called bolitas, and some people call them huevo de toro. And
okay, what does that mean for those that don't know Spanish?
The little ball-sized beers, and it's huevo de toro means bull nuts.
What is it called? Like mountain oysters or something? Rocky Mountain oysters is basically what it is.
Yeah,
it is. You learn something every time, man.
And pretty good, man. Sometimes I say, I'm going to open the front cooler, saying, asking for somebody to hand me a ball.
That's crazy, my man. So let's get into today's topic. What are we going to be doing today? Well, honestly, there's not really much new news in anything, to my knowledge. If there is, somebody let me know in the comment section. When it comes to the Kohberger case or Richard Allen case that I'm aware of right now. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to probably go through some comments. I'm going to invite anybody who wants to come on board and talk to us. Have your questions, your comments. We'll give you a couple of minutes or so. Let us know what you think, and then we'll answer those. Let me get that going real quick. Invite, copy link. I probably should have done this before.
That's okay. We'll manage.
Yeah, how gangster I can get. Do things last minute.
And me personally, I think a lot of the information does point to him. So about 90%. About 90%. You still got that 10% in my head.
What in the world? Like, why can I not pin my comment? Steelers fan, have you seen my comment there? Can you pin it, please? It's the StreamYard link.
It's right there. I see it.
Yeah, I can't pin it for some reason.
Yeah, I can't either.
It's weird.
In timeout.
Somebody put me in timeout. Son
Yeah.
of a gun. You know what? It's because it's a link. All right. Well, we'll have to figure something else out. Let's see. We have a $4.99 super sticker from Liz W. Let me pull this off my screen. I didn't read that. Liz W. super sticker. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. There is one thing that we can talk about real quick. A couple of things, actually. First and foremost, let's talk about something that's going on right now. Apparently, there is a live shooter. Well, not anymore. Las Vegas shooter passed after taking the lives of 3 in campus assault on 2 buildings. Live updates. So, were you aware about this, Blue?
No, I didn't. I was busy doing some testing. I didn't even see this.
Yeah,
to me.
Yeah, it is to me too. It says shooter at a UNLV sprayed bullets into a crowd of 2 campuses buildings during a lunchtime assault Wednesday that took the lives of at least 3 and caused panic among students who ran in horror from end of semester classes before the shooter died at the scene. Another person is in critical condition, Las Vegas police said. The University of Nevada, Las Vegas confirmed shortly after noon local time on X, there was an active shooter at the Frank and Estela Beam Hall. And the college said 20 minutes later that there was an additional report of shots fired at a student union. Police confirmed the suspect was dead shortly after. There's no further threat, said Kevin McMall, sheriff to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Another one, man. It seems like these things are kind of on the rise. What do you think, Blue?
Yeah, I mean, some people are kind of getting a little antsy with the way things are right now, man. I see it all over the news. You know, people are protesting all over the place. People are getting angry and rioting some places. You know, it's also a really stressful time of year for people. They get depressed and angry, and I wonder what the reasoning was for this one. I mean, maybe he's a student there. We have to find out more information throughout the days, but it's sad that, you know, he had to take his anger, frustration, or hatred out on some innocent people.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, dude. You know, these are things that shouldn't be happening. I just don't understand how it's just so frequent. How this is happening so frequent. Oh my gosh! Thank goodness she's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's. All right, guys. I also was able to put in the StreamYard link. I figured out what I was doing wrong. I was making a rookie mistake. I was putting it into the the wrong chat. I needed to put it through the StreamYard, and it was able to pull up. So if you want to come on, just click the link. You know, if you have any questions, concerns, if you have a theory that you want to go through, you know, maybe, or if you have something that you don't agree with us on, you know, and you want to kind of explain something about how or why, what you're, you know, how you agree, why you don't agree, the whole 9 yards. The only thing I do ask is before you jump onto the screen is to have your camera on. I'll be able to see you while you're backstage. Just give me the thumbs up, and then you can turn your camera off, and then we'll pull you on to the stage. That's if you don't want your camera there. If you do want your camera on, then, you know, you can just, again, no Vienna sausages or anything like that. We want to keep it PG and clean. The only person that's getting kind of crazy on this stream is Big Blue. Am I right, Big Blue?
Yeah. I get crazy all the time, but I'll get my alcohol right now.
So Dude, this one's kind of close to home. I don't know if you've heard about this.
I guess he's something they've been putting like it was because he got rejected from a job.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I know. That's crazy. But this one right here, this one's close to home. 6 people dead. Suspect accused of killing his parents in San Antonio before continuing a murderous spree through Austin or in Austin. So this comes out of San Antonio, Texas. Our backyard, man. Have you ever seen this guy before? This guy look familiar to you?
Doesn't look familiar to me.
Me either. So a suspect that is linked to 6 murders, including 2 people that were found dead inside a home in Northeast Bexar County in San Antonio, has been identified. Police say that Shane James, 34, killed his parents in San Antonio and 4 others in Austin in a violent trail of separate attacks. He had cuts on his ankle. Oh, he had an ankle monitor. He had cuts off his ankle monitor. He had cut off his ankle monitor from a previous misdemeanor domestic violence arrest. James has also been confronted by police with mental health call when he was naked at his parents' home. Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar said at a news conference, but deputies did not arrest him at that time. You know, you can always Monday morning quarterback things. You know what I'm saying? Like look back at a situation and say, hey, the police screwed up here or there, or in any situation. It doesn't have to even be law enforcement. It could be actually, football or, nursing or whatever the case may be. You can always look at it in hindsight and say that somebody should have done something. But if they had some sort of probable cause, which I don't know you would have probable cause there. I mean, if he's having a mental health situation, you can't really arrest him for having a mental health situation, for him being naked at his home. I think it would have to depend on the situation, right, Blue? I mean,
Yeah.
what would require for him to be taken, maybe not so much into custody, but at least locked into a mental health facility?
I mean, he would have to actually harm somebody, just because he might have gotten maybe a misdemeanor or a lower ticket for public nudity, but I don't think it's a arrestable offense.
Well, he's at his parents' house. His parents would have to be offended by his actions, and it would be, this is in Texas, so this would be disorderly conduct. But disorderly conduct has to be typically done in a personal or in a public place. This one would be a tricky situation. And then again, you also you have to have certain he has to commit certain elements of the crime, like intentionally, knowingly, purposefully, with criminal neglect. Sorry about that.
Neglect.
Those are the elements that are required when committing a crime. If you have somebody who is, having a mental health issue, they're not intentionally committing something. They're not knowingly or criminally neglectfully doing something. You know what I'm saying? So you can't arrest the person. The only thing that you can do, unless he did assault his parents, which according to this article, that's not the case. The only thing that you can do is hold him on some sort of mental health evaluation. But I think that he would have had to have threatened somebody or himself to be committed in that manner. What do you think?
Yeah, even if I don't know when the incident happened. When did that incident happen? Did it say on there?
Oh man, no.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes what they'll do is they'll take them to the state hospital and evaluate them, but they always end up getting released to the families if it's nothing severe, because there's no space or room to hold these people. I mean, it's a sad situation, but I see it all the time. They get taken to the state hospital. If they're seemed, I guess, somewhat stable, they get released either to the homeless shelters that they have nowhere to live, or they get released to their family members. And sometimes family members don't want to deal with them, so these people always end up in the streets. So maybe his parents were trying to help him out by keeping him there. But the problem with the system right now, which I saw that happen a couple months ago, is there's not a big follow up with these kind of situations. If he was in the system for that mental illness, it wasn't that long ago. We reviewed a story where the gentleman was in the state hospital for, I want to say, attempting to murder his own parents, and I think the mom passed away of natural causes or something. So when he got released after doing so many years, he got released to dad's custody, and he was having outbursts and having issues, and he ended up, taking his own dad's life. And they were saying, well, the last follow-up that they had with him was like 8 to 12 months before that incident, that there was no other follow-up after being released, after he was in, custody for over, I think, 5 to 10 years.
Dang.
There's a lot of incidents, man. Like I see it all the time with like some of the homeless people that come by my work. Sometimes they get released, or they don't want to go down to the shelters because they have certain rules, but they're pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, man. And a lot of these places are like understaffed and, underpaid, and it's just underfunded as well. So,
well, it's like this: you work with people who are unstable and crazy, but you cannot protect yourself if they attack you. You cannot strike back. You get criminally charged if you at least defend yourself. So you most have to restrain, and it's hard to restrain sometimes, because I've even seen it where, because we do a lot of the treatments for the people from the state hospital, where there was one night one guy sent in like 7 people. He was a big dude, and they could not sedate him, and it took like 7 people to try to get him off the person he was beating up, and we saw those people throughout the whole night because it kept coming in.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah,
that is insane.
They can't take him to jail because there's the facilities don't have the kind of care that they need at the jail sometimes.
Oh yeah. That's kind of like, to kind of tie that into, or that statement into, like, for instance, the Richard Allen case, where his defense team wants him out of the prison and want him in a county jail. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I think there's more resources, because I think that most, those are funded by the state. Some of them are privately owned. And even at that, they get quite a bit of money, right? And so, man, am I lagging, Blue?
No, I can hear you.
No, the visual. It looks like my shirt is doing something weird.
Not on my side. It's clear on my side.
Okay, sounds good. It just kind of distracted me. Sorry about that. But when you look at what the county jail has and what you have to do for somebody who's like on suicide watch, you end up having to have somebody man that person 24/7. And it's not just like one person sitting there. It's, probably 3 different people for one day. And you have to have 2 people on standby, for days off. And if, people get sick or whatever the case may be, or maybe even 3 at that matter. So you have 6 employees that you have to employ. That's separate from the other duties that you have to do inside the jail. It's difficult to do those type of things. And, I know that his defense team is arguing and saying that, put him in a county jail, but, if he ends up in a county jail and then he Epstein's himself, then everybody's going to be like, why was he not properly, being watched or under surveillance, or, in a proper facility that could take care of somebody and watch him 24/7. And then you'd be back to square one, because he was at that place.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what people don't see sometimes. It's not always just about let's make them it's a harsher punishment being over here. It's the type of quality of care that they can provide for them. The psychologists only work certain areas. It depends on like what funding the places have.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna say there was a few officers I spoke to last time. They were telling me the sheriffs, that sometimes people are just having a bad day. Every day you see this person, they walk into their cell. Every day they say something nice to you. Just on this day they snap and they punch you in the face.
Yeah.
And of course it counts against them, but and sometimes these officers, you might say, well, if somebody's going to punch me in the face, I would have blocked them. You would if they don't sucker punch you. And then the other thing is, right now they're so short-handed in workers. I was hearing, and it's like mandatory overtime, and it ain't like they're only working 8-hour shifts. These poor guys are working 16, 18-hour shifts, 7 days in a row. 6 days in a row, 1 day off. Sometimes there's a week where they don't get a day off. They get a weekend off every other week sometimes, or a week or a day off. So it's pretty hard out there, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I got a question for you. If so Stacy says here, not all jails, not enough officers in county. Not all jails. I'm not sure where she's, what she means by her statement, but if her statement is that not all jails don't have enough officers, right? That some jails do. Yeah. That's true, but in Delphi, the place was what 3,000, that 3,000 population, 3,000 people, and I'm assuming, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that a prison probably pays their jailers more than the county jail.
It depends on like if it's a federal, they pay more.
I think if one's private, also if it's a private facility that owns it, I don't know if it is or isn't, but I know that where I used to live, that there was a prison or county prison or jail, whatever you want to call it, in our area. It was the county prison or jail, whatever. It was, what's it called? Whacking Hut.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, it was Whacking Hut. Well, those are the people that ran it. Well, anyways, there was another jail that opened up probably about 45 minutes away. That was privately funded, and the difference was, I want to say, like $6 an hour.
Yeah.
So guess what happened to the jail that was close by? All those people left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if there is a prison that's there that they're holding, Richard Allen in, and it's close enough to where that county jail is, and you have only a population of 3,000 people, I would think that the likelihood of the county jail being understaffed or having, being under-resourced is greater in that situation or that scenario. Doesn't necessarily mean that has to be, but I think that's how it is there.
Yeah, I think every prison, I don't see a lot of kids saying, I want to be a prison guard when I grow up.
No.
It's not in their future now. All of them want to be TikTokers and video gamers on Twitch and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, but I didn't want to be in law enforcement when I was a child. That was the last thing on my mind. I think the first thing I wanted to be was a professional football player. I had my heart set on that. I put a lot of eggs in that basket. But yeah, I mean, that was what I had wanted to be. It wasn't until I actually got, sat down with an opportunity to become one, where I actually thought about it and thought to myself, yeah, I can see I can do that. There's some people that say that it's a calling and this and that. That wasn't the case for me at first. I saw it as a job, and you know what I mean? I got hired, and after being there for a while and whatnot, drink. then it became different. You know what I mean? But it wasn't different enough for it to keep me. I ended up going for more money elsewhere. But I digress. Y'all aren't here to listen about me. Let's talk about this. Oh, I wanted to be an astronaut. You know, I did too, but I'm scared of heights. So that was quickly out of the question. That was one of the main reasons why I wasn't a firefighter. I found out to be a firefighter because I was also, basically told, hey, you pass everything. It was when I was coming out of the Army. You pass all this stuff, you got yourself a job. I had to pass everything. I had to pass the physical exam, had to pass the whole 9 yards. And so I was like, all right. And I went to go look up what was required and what happens during the academy or whatever. And I found out that here you had to climb a ladder head first down the ladder. So you're going head first down the ladder with all full gear. And I think it's like something like 8 stories. I was like, F that. I ain't doing that. I no. That's not for me.
Not that hard.
Dude, no, man. I can't even get on a 6-foot ladder, bro. Like, I am deadly terrified of heights. You have no idea. No idea.
I'm not that scared of heights, but I am a daredevil when it comes to working on stuff that I shouldn't be working on height-wise. I mean, I remember one time I was working on this side of a house, and it was out in the Canyon Lake area, so it was on the cliff side. And I was working on the floodlight, so we were working like with a 40-foot extension ladder. And I had my little brother was with us that day, and I had told him, "Hey, hold the ladder on the bottom. I gotta go put this floodlight up there." And what does he do? He starts playing around, starts looking around. And I started feeling like I'm sliding a little bit. I'm like almost 35 feet in the air. And I was like, "I told you to step on the ladder." And yeah, I probably moved about 3 to 4 inches. It wasn't really his fault, but he could have held it a little bit tighter because the ground just gave out.
I don't know why, but I'm terrified of being on ladders, bro. Like, there's been a couple of times where the ladder I haven't leaned up on a house or something, and it goes back, and then I like forcibly kind of like try to put my momentum forward to get it to go back. And then as soon as it does, you see me climbing down quickly. That's happened to me a couple of times. I don't like heights. I don't like deep water. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I found that out because I got when I got a boat, and we went out to the lake, and I jumped into like really deep water, like where it was, I think the depth finder said like 80 feet. And that just felt super weird. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not that uncomfortable with a life jacket, but if I'm not wearing a life jacket and I jump into the water, it freaks me out a little bit, even though I know how to swim.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I like the water, man. I like deep sea fishing and stuff like that. And those don't even have a life jacket half the time. They only have little flotation devices. They toss to you if you fall overboard.
The arm boonies or whatever you call them that kids wear. Thank you, Florence White, for your $4.99 super sticker. We appreciate that. And to answer your question, Canadian true crime buff, as far as being on a plane, I'm actually all right on a plane. It doesn't bother me unless some craziness is happening, which happened not too long ago, man. I went to Pittsburgh not too long ago, right? But I almost didn't go because when me and my father went to Pittsburgh a couple of weeks earlier, I had the worst experience on a plane. So when we're flying back, we get into Dallas, and it's because we go from Pittsburgh to Dallas to San Antonio. And in Dallas, there's like a holdover because the storm is real, real bad, supposedly, or there's a storm coming. And we're waiting there. I want to say they held us over for about an hour and a half. And then they loaded everybody on the plane. And so they pushed us out on the tarmac. And when we get there, they said, hey, they're stopping us. The storm has gotten closer faster than we thought. So we're like, all right, we'll get it. And so we said, we're going to wait here for a little bit. So then we waited there probably on the tarmac for about an hour or so. And then the captain comes back on. He's like, all right, we're going we have an opening. We're gonna go through. And we're like, all right, finally we get to go. Now, it didn't seem like the weather was bad. It just seemed like it was just raining. You know, there was no lightning or thunder or anything like that. It just seemed like it was raining. Well, we start going down the tarmac, and we start getting up up in the air, and immediately once we get lift, the plane is being pushed to the side, and I'm like, whoa, this don't feel good.
Oh man!
And then we get up probably about maybe 6,000 feet, and the reason I know this is because I'm watching. This was a bumpy ride, so I'm watching the elevation on the airplane. They have one of those on the screen there. So we get to about 6,000 feet, and all of a sudden we hit those like air pocket. It must have like tossed us up maybe, I don't know, a couple hundred feet, because it just felt like we went up fast. And then all of a sudden you got that low or no gravity feeling like you're falling down. Yeah, that happened to us too. And about the same amount of feet that it was that we went up. So everybody started like grasping. I mean, I was white knuckling the seat in front of me, and at that point I saw everybody checking the elevation. The captain guy comes on the radio, and he says, we're gonna have to go south. It's not our best route that we want to go, but we're gonna have to do that if we're gonna get through this. And I'm like, well, shit, dude, just get us out safe, you know. But man, it was bouncing, dude. It kept doing that, and it sounded like the entire plane was gonna like break in half. And this is at night, it's raining, and the power like kind of went in and out inside the cabin, so that was kind of freaking me out a little bit. And then the freaking stewardess, or I don't know what, the airplane lady, she gets on the radio, and she goes, unless you have a emergency, please don't call for our assistance, as it is extremely dangerous for anybody to be moving up and down the airplane right now. And I was like, man, you could have said that nicer, like without putting so much fear into me. You know what I'm saying? But probably about maybe 2 minutes after she said that, and the pilot comes back on, he says, we got a couple more bumps, or it's, we're going to be experiencing turbulence. And we're like, well, no shit. and then we had one more bump, and then that was it. It really steadied out after that. But I was like super positive I was not going to get on a plane again. And then I had an opportunity to go to Pittsburgh, and I was like, all right, let's go. It only lasted like 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad, but I haven't been through that much turbulence. I've been through some turbulence, and because I remember I went up north, and the airport that I was flying to doesn't get a lot of traffic, so we went in one of the small planes, the one that probably only has like 12 rows, and they're like rows of 2 on one side and 1 on the other side. I was like, by the engines were louder than crap when we were taking off. And then you felt the bouncing a lot more in that little plane than the bigger plane that we took from Dallas to Chicago.
Dude, Chicago's windy, man. I had a rough landing there, but it was just landed pretty hard. This last one was horrible. I almost never got on a plane again. And by the way, just kind of to finish covering this little this guy that went on a killing spree here in San Antonio and Austin. It really doesn't say where he targeted in Austin, right? It just says 2 police officers are recovering from gunshots, including one who was shot in the leg outside of a high school in Austin. So I wonder if he attacked a high school. I'm not familiar with this. It just kind of came to me right before we got on the show. A cyclist in Austin was also shot and wounded on a trail of attacks beginning Tuesday morning and ended with the suspect crashing his car that evening during a police pursuit. Austin Interim Police Chief Robin Henderson said. Yeah, pretty crazy. Killed 6 people in Austin and San Antonio, including his parents. Wounded 2 officers and a couple of others.
That's 4 innocent people. I mean, 6 innocent people.
Yeah.
Four strangers that lives he took.
let's see. Jason comes in saying, hey, and if you have any questions for us, hit us up. Hit us up. That's what we're here for. It says, hey, you cool drunk turkeys. If you're correct that the cops got it right in Bryan Kohberger, then I'll give you guys a free trip to Costa Rica. Should we get our passports?
I already got mine.
Here's the thing, and in all seriousness, we don't know all the evidence one way or the other, right? All we can honestly say that we know is the evidence that the police had up until the point where they arrested Kohberger, right? And that's because that evidence is in the probable cause affidavit. The results of all of their search warrants, and I'm not just talking about the blood or this or that, all of the search warrants is, purchase history, if they went and found, everything. I mean, there's we don't know what they have. I think they have 52 terabytes, thousands of pictures, tens of thousands of pages of reports. I don't know what's in those things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, there's a lot of evidence that was found that we don't know after the fact. Does it point in one way or the other? We'll find out during trial or court. Now, I think that based on the evidence that they had to arrest him, it makes it pretty hard for it to be somebody else. And I believe that if it is him, and since it makes it pretty hard for it to be somebody else, there's going to be evidence there. And there's already a lot. I mean, I think it's kind of hard to, what do you call it? I don't think there's no such thing as a perfect crime. You know what I mean? And yeah, we talked about the Las Vegas shooting right at the top, right?
Yeah.
I thought so. I was going to say, yeah, because that was
I didn't know it was because he possibly got rejected for a job.
Yeah.
Oh man, all those innocent students. I hate when people do that. I mean,
so what we can do is we can read some of these comments that we have in many of our videos and answer some of these questions. Let's see. There's a lot of them. I want to get one that doesn't agree with us. That way I can get, a discussion going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. Here's one. Still find it hard to believe that DM is not involved in what happened, considering the 8 hours had passed and still don't call the police. Also, the fact that she was seen outside smoking with 4 of the people early in the morning of the day of the murders. All right. So how do we want to answer this question first, Blue?
I never heard that she was outside smoking with 4 other people.
Well, that's because we didn't cover that because that was not real information. So I'll kind of give you the rundown, Blue. What had happened was there was this person on TikTok who was claiming to be somebody named Dot. This person, Dot, that they were claiming to be was a 21-year-old University of Idaho student who was friends with Dylan Mortenson, who also apparently was drinking and having a good old time the night of the incident, but at the apartment complex between the Linda Lane footage camera and the victim's residence. Now, I found a lot of things that she said suspicious because, one, it really didn't match with what police would have done and or found. Like, the things that she was saying are all very easy to prove, right? If they happened or didn't happen. There's cameras in the area that were recording that pick up cars coming into that area. There are, everybody would have had to turn off their phones a long time ago. And I mean, there's just, because the police ended up having the warrant for the cell towers for that area. That entire narrative was just complete outlandish, and it sounded like a makeup tomfoolery. I don't understand how anybody believed it. Well, anyways, so this person claiming to be 21, she started going on a couple of channels saying that, she was this person, and that early in the morning that she had seen Emma Bailey, Demetrius Robinson, and others smoking marijuana outside in the backyard at 8:30 in the morning at the King Road residence. Well, this person ended up going live on a couple of places, but she never showed her face. I told everybody, I was like, man, she kind of sounds like Candace Wells. Like an older lady that's been smoking for a while.
Yeah.
And well, she accidentally turned on her camera, and sure enough, and sure as hell, man, she kind of looked like Candace Wells too. She looked like she was 45 with a smoking problem. I think she was smoking a cigarette at the time. I was like, Jesus Christ. And you know what? Here's the thing, though, Big Blue. There are some people that still believe her story.
Yeah.
Some people still believe that story, even though the camera, the curtain had fallen. The curtain had fallen. There were some creators who had brought her on and talked to her, or whatever the case may have been. And they found out that she was lying. And they called her out on that. You know what I mean? So I don't fault those guys or gals, whoever, brought that person on to go and talk to them. But once they found out, that person was a fraud, was a fake, they put it out there for the world to see. The issue is where you have some folks who, will still take that story and run with it, regardless that there was this, 45-year-old lady, smoking a cigarette, chain smoking on TikTok, saying that she was some 21-year-old girl. But,
that doesn't happen all the time. I mean, look at me. I'm going to say I'm 20-year-old here talking on this mic. And do I sound convincing to y'all?
You do kind of sound like you're 21, bro. But you have to talk like a 21-year-old. You got to say something like, let's see, what would a 21-year-old say? Like, this podcast is fresh and the drip is cool. I'm not even sure what I said.
But they have cool drip.
No offense for anybody who's watching that's under the age of 30. That's not really our criteria, our demographic. But if you're there, we apologize. Let's see if there's anything else. Kohberger was never matched with blood DNA. It was his bugle DNA that matched with the sheath. That is only 32 STR markers. Okay. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not a DNA expert, so I don't know anything about DNA. When I argue the DNA stuff, it's not that I'm arguing whether or not the DNA is, the science behind it. In fact, Kohberger and his defense aren't really arguing about that either. What I argue about the DNA is the same thing that Kohberger's defense team argues, which is it, can you use it against him in court? Right. So I'm looking at the legality aspect of it. If it's, was it collected correctly? Was it not collected correctly? Was it done properly? Fruit of the poisonous tree, a whole 9 yards. And from what I understand and what I've seen, there's nothing been done wrong. BK will not accept a plea bargain. That's for sure. I don't know. Blue, what do you think?
I think if he would have taken a plea bargain, it would have been already. I think he would have already tried to avoid trial, tried to avoid everything if he wants to not get the harsher punishment. But I don't know. I mean, you have till the gavel hits the stand, right?
What's that?
You have until the gavel, until the court date start, and then after that, it's off the table. But I never heard a plea.
Oh, no. He can take a plea all the way up until the point that the verdict is in.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no rule that says you can't take a plea at this point or that point. Up until the verdict is read in court, a plea can be met. You can be up to the point where the jury is just deliberating and a plea can be made. If the deliberation is going such a certain way, mother of cycle breakers, he's not going to be offered one. I wouldn't be so sure of that. I'll say that I think that there's a possibility he might.
I mean,
I don't know if he's going to take it.
If they would offer him, it'd probably be like, hey, well, won't do the DP, and they can do that in prison too. That's a joke. Just show us where the knife and where the knife is, and will give you life in prison.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to come down to what if they were going to give him a plea, it'd be life in prison, and in return for the why, where the weapon is, the the why he did it, his planning, what went into planning this. I mean, the more publicity that this has gotten and the deeper everybody looks into what he has done, this guy almost committed the perfect crime. Like, if he doesn't leave the knife sheath, they're not on him at that point. Now, I think that his behavior at WSU was eventually going to get and attract some eyes into him to be looked into more deeply, right? But had he not left the knife sheath, there wouldn't have been DNA. The IgG couldn't have been completed, and he wouldn't have gotten arrested.
I think without that, they would have been able to get the search warrant right away. But I do think that they did do their due diligence. I mean, they saw what kind of car was fleeing the scene. They would have still been canvassing for cars. They still would have been, asking for camera footage, and there might have been another slip up throughout there. I mean, I've seen it happen in more and more cases nowadays where somebody commits a crime and they think they got away with it scot-free, and there was a camera somewhere that caught them on the way home.
Right. Let's see.
With the cell phone data putting you in the direction at that time, that's a coincidence you can't look away at.
Yeah. Let's say extreme blonde comes in. Like a blood trail has always baffled me, unless it's something that hasn't been released. I'm sure he was wearing other clothes, but still no drops. Well, it depends, right? Let's talk it out. He attacks in the third floor first, right? That's our assumption right now. And the two victims are in bed. So, he's not going to be standing in a pool of blood because, they're not standing up, they're laying down. The blood's going to pool downward towards the mattress. So the only thing that he would get on him is from the stabbing aspect, right? And it would probably, since it's close proximity, you're looking at his torso, shoulders, maybe his arms, his face, neck area. That's probably going to be the most where you're going to get some sort of splatter back, right? And I mean, it's been speculated that the torso was a target area. I think that's what the coroner had stated in one of her reports, that the target area for all the victims was the torso area. If somebody were to stab somebody into the lung, would the blood go into the lung versus coming out of the body?
I mean, there's always going to be blood coming out of the body, but the lung will fill, the lung will collapse once it gets punctured. It would either fill up with blood, or the blood would just fill up the area where the cuts are.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure if anything's going to be spraying out. Blue, I don't know if you would know this or not, but if somebody were to be stabbed into the torso, is it like, similar to somebody being stabbed in an artery? Is it going to fling out?
No, sorry, not necessarily. I see cuts all the time in the torso, and like they don't bleed. They bleed a lot, but they don't bleed like the scalp, or if you got an artery. I mean, laying there in the pool of it, yeah, you're gonna bleed everywhere, but it ain't gonna shoot out. Now, if they get an artery. Sometimes the scalp will bleed a lot, but a bleed in the area won't shoot out sometimes.
Right.
Unless you hit an artery or vein.
Right.
Then it starts to shoot out a little bit more. But it's the motion too, them going back and forth. I'm pretty sure there's droppings throughout the scene. So
Right. No, obviously there would be, but he's in close proximity, so it doesn't. He's not going to get any on his legs,
no,
on the bottom part, on his body, on the bottom half of his body, on his shoes. So that could be the reason why there's not a blood trail going through the house, because one, he's not actively bleeding. Also, right? This is blood that was sprayed onto him. If he's wearing some kind of stain resistance or stain tolerant or whatever the case may be, water resistant, that repels it too. Because there's a Dickies tag there. If it's one of those water repellent Dickie tags, is it possible by the time he gets out of that door that whatever is on him is what has soaked into the material?
I mean, if it's repellent, it should just roll right off. And it might stain a little bit, but it shouldn't stain if it's like a water repellent type of Dickies suit. But I don't think they're. I honestly haven't seen a Dickies one in a while that's water repellent. I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up.
I think like this, like the stuff you can spray on your shoes, and then the stuff just rolls right off.
That's true too. You can spray some stuff on his clothes. I didn't think about that. That's a good thought there, Blue.
Yeah, it's like the stuff you spray on your hiking boots, and stuff you spray on your tents to be more repellent. I mean, but I don't know about the Dickies pants.
Dickies water repellent logo sleeve hoodie is fabricated with soft fleece for comfortable hand feel and primed with durable water repellent finish. They have a hoodie that's repellent. Interesting.
Yeah, but I think if he wears like the coveralls, they're not.
But here's the problem. How much did they say that the tag was for? It was like $49, right? And people were saying their Dickies coveralls don't cost $49, right?
Yeah,
they're $60. Well, this Dickie repellent dark colored jacket is $49.
Yeah.
And like we said, he could be going in there with some other type of cargo type of pants that are slip on. He has the Vans. If the Vans footprint is real, it's his, right? Let's just assume that that's true. They sell slip on shoes, so it wouldn't be very difficult for him to slip out of a sweater and his shirt and some jeans or his cargo pants and slip into something else like warmers and a t-shirt and another pair of slip-on shoes. I mean, that would literally take 40 seconds maybe, if you're moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially if you got out of your vehicle, right, and before you made entry into this house, you put your shoes right there, you put your pants already opened, right? You put your shirt already facing down so that the open part of the shirt is facing up. So when you run out there to get to it, it's already in position. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to look for which side is what side. You just go, you get in, you take your pants off, you get in, you get your clothes, you put it in a bag, you're out of there. Right? Yeah. That's not difficult.
No, I'm saying like, especially with some of the other stuff you could pick up at the school, and I mean, I don't know what access you had to like the equipment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you had gloves, you had a mask, and then I'm pretty sure for him not to leave a trail out, maybe some booties. But here's the thing though, most of them were in the bed, so most of the splatter would be up on top. It would either splatter onto his shoe, and then there probably would be a little bit of smudging if it landed on the floor next to him. There's only the second floor where I believe that might happen more, That's
Right.
where one of the bodies was found by the door. But that could have happened after he left.
Yeah.
They could have tried, you could have attacked them while they were on the bed, and then he think that they pass away and close the door, and then either somebody fall out of the bed and block the door, or somebody start walking towards the door and not make it.
Yeah.
I think it's
And
more fall out of the bed, because if they were still with some sense of life, they probably would reach for a phone and call for help.
Right. Or, I mean, it depends, how bad they're injured. I mean, maybe the phone isn't something that's on their mind, but if they are, like, let's just say one of the, and it's been speculated that it was Ethan's body that was there, right? So my speculation is that as Xana was returning, so I think that she felt a draft from the open sliding glass door that was outside, that was still open. Went to go look, saw that it was open, maybe even have heard what was going on, the commotion upstairs, and said out loud, I think somebody's here. I think Kohberger hears that. He's coming down the stairs. She turns around to go and wake up her boyfriend who's asleep. Remember, her dad had fixed the locks that weekend. He had just fixed the locks, and supposedly they locked on their own. So as she's entering in that room, he's coming up from behind her. Right.
Yeah.
And so if he attacks, he hits her, he surprises her, which is why also there's no DNA under their fingernails. He attacks Xana from behind, he surprises her. Maybe he just hits her enough or hits her with the bottom end of the knife or something to incapacitate her. And he sees the bigger Ethan in bed. And even if Ethan wakes up at this moment, he's one, been drinking that night, two, probably asleep throughout this moment. In fact, even the probable cause affidavit said that everybody was either in bed or asleep at that moment, except for Xana. So there's a good opportunity that he was asleep. So he's waking up. There's a guy who's not very small. I know that Ethan's a very large guy, but Kohberger's not a small dude. And he's armed with a 7.5-inch knife. And he's on, he has position. He's over top of this person who's intoxicated, laying down, who was just asleep. I mean, the disadvantages there for Ethan are tremendous. Is it possible that, Kohberger started swinging on him and maybe he reached out or something? I don't know. And he ended up passing on his side there. And then as, it took 8 hours or maybe not even that long. I mean, we hear a thud somewhere. So I don't know. I know that when somebody passes, there's certain gases that are released and things like that. Would that have been enough if he was on his side, to push him to fall over? I don't know. Maybe he did have some life left over. Maybe Kohberger heard somebody yell something out loud and he thought, being in the moment, right? Tunnel vision. Like whoever was doing this, I would assume, whether it's Kohberger or not, that in that moment right there, if they're committing a crime and they hear somebody yelling and they don't know where it's coming from and they haven't even checked the first floor yet, you would think to yourself, all right, time for me to go. Got to get out of here. And I don't think he would have heard exactly what was yelled at. I mean, Blue, if you're like super focused into something and I come up to you and just say something without trying to grasp your attention, without saying, hey, Big Blue, if I just walk up to you, you don't even know I'm there. And I tell you something, your response is going to be like, wait, what? What was the first part? Right.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably what had occurred here. He heard something, probably couldn't make out what it was, and he had to get out of there. Know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's a sad situation. Hopefully they have more information out there and the case comes up in the court. We'll find out more information and the truth will come out. I mean, the truth is out there, but like what I mean is like the verdict, the true verdict will be out.
Tara asks, why would the perpetrator attack someone that hasn't seen them? So he attacks Xana, but not Dylan. And then they somehow think that's funny. Big Blue, why would a perpetrator attack somebody who hasn't seen them?
I think.
Well, first, let me ask you this: do we know that she didn't see Kohberger, or Kohberger? Does Kohberger know that she's not aware of his presence?
Yeah. I think it's more I think he didn't see her. I honestly.
No. Well, Dylan, yeah. But when it comes to Xana, why would he attack Xana if he doesn't attack Dylan? Well, my opinion is if he's coming down the stairs while Xana's coming out to see what's going on, and she says, I think someone's here, and turns around and walks away. She may not have seen him, but he sees her. He knows where she's at. When Dylan yells from her bedroom, he doesn't know where that's at. It could have been from the first floor, right? So he sees her. She says, I think someone's here. What do you automatically assume somebody's going to do when they think someone's in their home?
They're going to yell out.
No, they're going to call 911. That's what you would automatically assume. I know Dylan doesn't do it, but if you were Kohberger, right, and somebody said, I think somebody's here, you would assume that they're going to call the authorities. And if you're close enough to see, or maybe even have seen them say someone's here and see that they're not on the phone and can surprise them from behind, yeah, that's why you attack. Now, when Dylan yelled out something, she was in her bedroom, right?
Yeah.
So there's a good possibility there. He had no idea where it was coming from. And when he did finally see her, there's no telling that she didn't call 911 by then.
Yeah, that's true.
So he had to get out. I mean, you got to look at the big picture. And, when the problem is a lot of folks are looking at this, very small, singularly focused, they'll see something that kind of fits the piece. Like, for instance, if they go outside at sunset and see a sunset is orange, or see the sky is orange at that time, because the sky is orange at that specific time, the assumption on those singularly focused thoughts is that the sun or the sky is orange all the time. And that's not the case, right? Sky is sometimes blue, it's black, it's orange, it's violet. There's a lot of different colors depending on the time of day.
Yeah.
So you just can't look at one small part, and because it answers the piece for that one small time, you got to see how that fits with the whole picture. How does that fit with the whole? How does that logic fit with everything else? Does the sky being orange make sense in Texas at midnight? No. What's up, Blue?
I say that also, like, maybe, I know, that one gentleman that said he's been in that house says that the room that Dylan was in looked like a closet to him. Without him knowing the layout of the house, he would have thought it was just a closet. So,
yeah,
that is a possibility too.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if the lights were on. We don't know how close she was to the door, or maybe she was walking towards the door and he can look in there and only see a bed, but she's on the side, like coming from one side of the bed. We don't know.
Yeah,
she saw him.
The one thing that throws me off, Blue, when it comes to that, I'm a straight arrow guy. If something makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, it doesn't. One thing that don't make sense to me is if Ethan's body was behind the door and Xana's body was visible from the hallway going in there, so it was by the door, or at least, it had to be straight ahead from the hallway. Where the hell's the blood coming from that's on the back of the house?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it is blood. I mean, blood normally turns like dark black after a while. I think it's just a stain from them, something that they sprayed or painted, maybe on the concrete.
Yeah, you're right, man, because it had been at least over 8 hours at that point when that picture was taken, that blood was still dripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have blood. Well, I mean, it's cold. It's freezing. Would that make a difference?
I mean, it can make a difference, but once it loses the oxygen, it kind of changes colors. But the thing is, to me, I don't think it's blood in that back wall, honestly. I think it's a stain from something like a flooring that they put down or something when they painted the house before. Maybe it dripped down there. Just because I think they put in new flooring, they should have put in, even though it's wood flooring, they still put in paddings. They should have caulked and sealed the trim. I don't think it would leak that quickly. But I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's the one thing that kind of gets to me. But you're right. It'd been 8 hours. It probably would have changed colors by then. It would have probably looked differently. It wouldn't have looked like it was still wet. But again, I don't know. Maybe it would have. Those are that's like the one thing I guess that kind of bothers me about that, aspect of it. Huh. I don't know. But I do know that here in a little bit, are you going to join me, Blue, on Criming Shame? It's a Criming Shame.
Was it tonight? I didn't know it was tonight.
Yeah, it's tonight.
I might be able to jump on there just to do a few things. But
all right, I'll send you the link. Yeah, I'm going to jump on that here in probably about 15 minutes, y'all. If you guys are not following, it's a Criming Shame, and we'll be out there here in about 15 minutes. Do you have any like speed questions that you see in there real quick that we can answer very quickly, Big Blue?
No, not today.
You know what? I do want to. I want to tell somebody what we're going to be doing on Friday. We're going to be doing turkey talk on Fridays, where you'll be able to call in and you can ask us your questions and concerns and on things, and not just on true crime or your theories. It can be on anything. You want advice on drinks? Big Blue got you. Dating advice. Jaime is the man. He's the guy. If you have problems with shaving, Jaime is also the guy. Whatever you have in mind. Therapy questions.
Ain't no
advice.
Secretion. Jaime's got you.
We're gonna be doing that on Fridays. We're trying to get everything down. I wanted to throw out, a little preview of it tonight and just kind of answer phone calls, but I ended up not getting the program up and ready at the right time. And so, but we plan on doing that. It's going to be something a little bit different, maybe not so much focused on true crime, but if you have true crime questions and just want to get on and kind of, talk back and forth about those things, we're not close to it. Oh, nice. Yeah, we're going to be on here in a little bit. Dating advice. Yeah. We'll help you. Time is the man. That's where he's at. I mean, you can't be secure enough to do that kind of job and not have good dating advice. You know what I'm saying? Yes. All righty, y'all. We're going to be bouncing out here. We'll be on the Crime and Shame here in a little bit. If you want to check us out there, I'm going to be drinking a little bit more. I enjoyed everybody that was here. Thank you all to the subscribers, mods, members. Big Blue, what do you got?
Yeah, take care, guys. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of these victims and the family of the victims in Las Vegas. Every day you turn on TV, there's crime out there. Somebody's passing away. They're leaving behind loved ones. Y'all take care.
Yes. And also, if you do ask for advice from us next week or this Friday, we are not professionals. We advise you to also speak to a professional. So it is only opinion, and call it your own risk. With that being said, we'll see you guys on Friday night. Peace.
Take care, guys.
This never ends on time.